We're joined by Matt Paulsen, a senior partner and wealth management advisor at Barnum Capital Management. Matt has over 20 years experience in the financial service industry. He spent a large part of his career teaching financial literacy classes at corporate venues, and for 8 years was the co-host of Connecticut's #1 financial talk show, Smart Money Radio. We're going to get into all of that on this episode and more, so let's get started. I'm Paul Blanco, and this is Small Steps, Big Wins. All right, Matt Paulsen, welcome to Small Steps, Big Wins. I'm so happy to have you here today and face-to-face. I thought it might be a Zoom, but we haven't done a face-to-face in a few weeks, and it's really great to see you. You're here in Shelton. So, Matt, it's been 20 years since you came on board. This year will be 20 years, and from Providence College. And let's start right from the beginning. Number one, how did you decide that you wanted to have a career in financial services?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Paul. Great to be here in person.
Yes.
And you mentioned 20 years. It's gone by in a blink of an eye. What a great journey. So much fun, so exciting, so much to look forward to. Coming out of college, I had studied business management and finance. I always had an interest in personal finance. I love the idea of teaching. My father owned his own business, started his own business and grew that. And so I was raised in that sort of environment, right? Small business entrepreneurial environment. And so I love the idea of owning something. And so as I sort of got out there and explored what the career paths were, the more and more I sort of found myself being pulled towards this career as a financial advisor, financial planner.
Yeah, it's amazing. And we talk a lot about on the show that when you come in, it's one thing to be a great advisor, right? And I say that's table stakes today, helping clients and being really diverse in your practice and both sides of the balance sheet, which you've done an amazing job at.
Yeah, thank you.
But the next level for you to land where you are 20 years later, to be in the top 1% of the industry in results, you have to be able to go from an advisor to a business owner. So did that upbringing help you with that? Was it something that watching your dad and obviously the whole family's in when there's a business in the household, right. But did that help you as you came through this journey? And when did that click?
Yeah, absolutely. I felt as though I was a business owner from day one, right? It was an investment in myself and in my future. I very much believe in being a lifelong learner, right? And taking those steps and that time to, as I said, invest in yourself. And, the career of being a financial advisor was almost like, two different businesses, running the actual business and then in the business of giving advice. And it's gone by so fast, 20 years because I love it, right? It's such an exciting profession. I get to meet with great people all day, every day. The community and the culture here at Barnum is just second to none. We're so lucky, so fortunate,
Thank you.
And to be a part of what you've built. I just want to bring the best I possibly can to, my clients every day, my team, and obviously to the firm.
Well, that's amazing. And thank you. And I always try to correct people and say we built, because culture is all of us together, which has been really fun. And, I always say the best is yet to come. And, when you think about 20 years, some people think he's going to get a gold watch here, but you're probably going to get one at 40 years because you're really just getting started and you got 20 more good ones ahead of you.
Yeah.
But listen, like you come in at 22 years old, it's not always roses, right? And, I'm sure there was some obstacles that you hit along the way that, really tested you a little bit. And, give me an example or
Yeah,
maybe
no doubt.
of one of them that happened? Because what it was,
It's not smooth sailing.
yeah, even though your business went straight up from a result standpoint,
Right.
but I'm sure there was challenges you faced.
Yeah, plenty of challenges, a lot of adversity over the years. I mean, I started, as you said, 22, just 23 years old. I looked like I was 15.
Yes.
Clients were quick to tell me that. And so, I'm out there in the field. In those days, everything was face to face at someone's kitchen table or at their place of business. And you're asking them to trust you with their life savings.
Yeah.
That in and of itself was a challenge. And that was probably my biggest concern, in starting down this career path. My father passed away when I was studying for my Series 7. That was devastating. Yeah. But failure was not an option for me. I mean, there was absolutely no way in the world I was going to fail in this profession because it's what I wanted.
It's amazing.
So, sure, plenty of challenges, and I've always felt as though you have to reflect, take a step back, and think about the ways that you can sort of grow personally and professionally from these different challenges. The financial crisis of 07 and 08, right? I had just sort of gotten on my feet. Things were going quite well. And then just this devastating pullback in the financial markets that impacted, the individuals and families that I was working with at the time.
Yeah, listen, and I'm sure that with that happening with your dad, I'm sure that brought a lot of challenges and different things to the family.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it gave you the strength to go help more people. And, I think that's became even though it was probably your calling anyway, I think that sped it up for you.
Undoubtedly, right. I saw the impact, obviously emotionally, but for purposes of the conversation today, right, financially, on my mom. And in many cases, he had built this really successful big business. So in many cases, there was great planning, but there were gaps, and those gaps became so apparent in a unfortunate situation like that. And I was determined to make sure that when I was talking with prospective clients, that I was doing everything in my power to make sure that we were closing up all of their planning gaps.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm on a mission right now to make sure that doesn't happen to a family. And as this industry has gotten away from the emotional side
Mm-hmm.
of the business, and obviously you have two sides, right? You have can you retire and have enough money to not outlive the lifestyle you want? And then do you have all the protections you have? And I think that growing up in the business, I really grew up on the protection side with the emotion. And there's emotion on the other side too.
Sure.
Because if you don't get there, that's a long 20, 30, 40 years of retirement if you're just scraping by. So I share that mission, and I always want to do my part to make that well. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah,
Thank you. Because when I took this role, it was really scary for me becoming a CEO and coming out of the field. And I was only in the field for 2.5 years, but I felt I was impacting the end user. And now I have to do it through advisors and staff like I have. And it gives me great strength to watch people like you do that. So thank you for that.
Sure. And what's actually funny was, I had effectively signed on with another firm. And there was a manager that was part of Barnum at the time who had called me and said, "You really need to come have a meeting with us. By the way, we're even closer than that other firm." So I said, "Sure, why not?" And when he sort of outlined for me the resources that were available here, the training program that was available here, the fact that it was a holistic focus on both the protection side and the investment side, and working in all these other, aspects of financial planning, it didn't take me but, a minute to make that decision. And my goodness, am I thankful that I made the decision I did.
So am I. So thank you for that. So, I know there's probably a lot of different turning points in a career, but, BCM, your team now is getting big. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many people are on the current team now total between advisors and staff.
There's a dozen of us.
Yeah. So a dozen people. So it's a real business now, mm-hmm. True entrepreneurs. But I think you were super fortunate because your partner, Jim Ian, who's been on a show a couple of months back, Jim was really in a quasi role at the time where he was helping you in the field and teaching you some of the craft, but also, being a personal producer. And it seems like you guys hit it off. And I would say that's one of the turning points in your career where you decided to team up.
Yeah.
So maybe you can share that, because here you are, you were probably 25, 26 when you guys started to really formalize a little bit. Talk about how that's happened in the journey on the team.
Sure. So I casually mentioned that, this other manager had called me down for an interview, and I was quick to make the decision to say yes to Barnum. But this person was not quick to say yes to me. Matter of fact, he said, I don't think you're a good fit for this industry. I was probably quiet and reserved. I would personally probably say sort of calculating, methodical, and sort of disciplined in my approach. But Jim was the one who came in sort of later on in the interview process and said, no, I think he would be a good fit here. Let's take a flyer. Let's take a shot.
Interesting. I didn't know that story. So he was really there from the day one, basically.
Jim was there from day one. And he was my mentor. He was my sort of role model in this, as I got started at a young age. And, I think I would have been successful. I think I would have, built out a great business and had a great career. I don't think that the success that I've had to date would have come without Jim. I can definitely say that that's the case. And, that's important to me now when I reflect, on not just the past, but then think about the future, right? It's important for me now to be that role model and that mentor to others because of how impactful it was throughout my career.
Yeah. And I think that it's a hard industry, and doing it with someone really, really helps to take those ups and downs, and you can share in those together, win together, lose together. Because not every day, as you said earlier, is roses, but you guys have formed an amazing partnership and continue to grow, which is pretty cool. So let's talk about that. Well, let me back up for a second. So one of the hardest things to do in this business, and one of the phrases that I came up with in the late 90s was, I'm dating myself a little bit, but gee whiz, a long time. I've been in the business like 33 years. But when I think about it, not having any money as an entrepreneur and starting a business, I said, what's going to be my differentiator? And the differentiator here at Barnum, one of them in the beginning was to be a marketing firm that does financial planning. Because I figured out if you can get a smart, articulate advisor in front of a client, and then planning was the only way to really grow the size of the business and make sure you're taking care of all the clients. You came in and, you had a lot of opportunities in front of you between, doing a radio show, the firm helped do with you. Mm-hmm. You were teaching in Fortune 5,000 companies, probably at a really young age. And then, an in-force book of business. So you almost had this asset allocation of opportunities, and then you had to go get them. And that doesn't mean that you have a guaranteed success. It was a lot of hard work, but why don't you talk about a few of those that were impactful to you in your time?
I've got a big smile on my face because I remember being asked to come talk to a younger sort of group of advisors that was just getting started. I don't know, I was probably 5, 8, 10 years in the business. And I was asked by the firm to come in and talk about, how I was building my business. And I remember reflecting on the fact that I had put down on a 1-page piece of paper all these great ideas I was going to do. I mean, just from a marketing perspective, right? All of these things I was going to do. And a year went by and I did a couple of them, but what I realized was just way too much. And so I was fortunate enough to have been given the opportunity early on to teach this in this corporate education program, right? Go in and teach financial literacy classes. And I loved it, right? I absolutely loved it, right? Just great dialogue, great, able to give great information to a lot of people, the feedback afterwards, just really gave you that nice high, right? Hearing people, being so thankful and appreciative for the advice you're given. And that took off, right? I said, my goodness, right? If instead of going out and, knocking on one door at a time or, one, door of one business at a time, why don't I just go in and talk with the HR department of some of these big companies or hospitals in the area and talk about this financial education program? And then, to potentially have the ability to get in front of the entire population there. And so that is what helped me to launch the business. And from there we said, why don't we try the radio? We like teaching, and what a great way to speak to a lot of people and promote education.
Yeah. And at one point you guys were like the top show in Connecticut.
We of all of AM and FM, Paul.
It's amazing. I was on a call with someone yesterday and that does a lot of work on Sirius radio and said radio's coming back. The demographics are getting younger and younger, which is very interesting to hear. But, it was an aging population at that time, but you guys did really great work on that.
We had a blast with it. I mean, talk about a big time commitment. We were working long days, long hours. And then, Saturdays were our earliest morning of the week, but, we had a great time, and it certainly helped propel the business to. Yeah.
And you've impacted so many people. You don't even know who you've impacted that took some of your advice and went down the street and did it with someone else, but you still had an impression on them. Yeah. So let's talk present day. So, earlier we joked about you being face to face, which is so awesome. And by the way, guys, I know this is on, you're listening to this maybe on Spotify or Apple, but, he still does look like he's 23 years old. So he's done good on the fitness front, and he likes to be outdoors. So
thank you.
I don't like the bike thing that you're doing. Well, we can't talk about that today, but it sounds a little too dangerous.
Some pretty good wrecks over the last year.
So I don't like that. I almost forgot where I'm going now. But the question I have for you is, we joked about being face to face, but COVID hits, in March of 2020. And, that Sunday night was very stressful for me. And we were probably doing 10 to 15% of our business via Zoom or Teams or any one of these medias. And I'm like, I think this is going to change our whole business, and in a positive way. And your team being one of them kind of challenged me a little bit and said, I don't know, as soon as this is over, I'm getting back to face. And I would say that if I look at our firm, maybe not the atypical of the industry. Not that we're not willing to do this, but we're probably 90% now of our business is on Zoom. Has that had a major impact on the team? And maybe you can share a little bit about that.
Huge impact. I sort of reflect on, 2018, 2019, even early 2020, our business has grown, and, we have this tremendous commitment to our clients, right? To serve them and provide the advice and the guidance they need. And as the business grows, it becomes harder and harder to do that, particularly when you're traveling, to their home or their place of business, let alone, traveling to these different companies to teach, in and out of the city in New Jersey and Boston, just all the time. And it was becoming problematic, to the point where we question, how do we continue to grow and scale when we're spending so much time in the car? And so we tried to pivot and run meetings and teach classes virtually at the time. And we were having difficulty getting traction. And for the most part, people didn't want to interact that way. Fast forward, the pandemic didn't just force our hand, but, also caused clients to have to interact with us and through that medium. And now, 99% of our businesses are run through Zoom. And I think clients, we give our clients the choice, right? If you'd like to come into the office, awesome, right? We'd love to have you in. But 99% of our clients, I think, choose to, hold those meetings virtually. I think they're more productive. It's a better use of time, and we can be really effective and efficient with technology. But we've had to pivot and adapt to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Last Friday, 2 Fridays ago, we had a showcase here where we're showcasing, top advisors to our younger advisors. And I had one advisor come to me that's, 26, been here a few years, and says, oh my God, I don't know if I would have survived in the business if I knew I had to drive 40. This advisor spoke how he drove 40,000 miles a year. And the person said to me, I don't know if I can do that. Like, that would have been a really, really different way of growing this business. So, but interesting enough, they don't have to do that today. And if you can do that well. So let's talk about technology a little bit. I mean, you just brought that up. So obviously there's Zoom, but you have a huge book of business. I know that you and your team have just embraced technology on every front,
Mhm.
from how you book your appointments to obviously Zoom, but managing a big book, using a CRM system. We have a proprietary tool here at Barnum. How has that impacted you and the ability to run such a big business and continue to take on more clients?
When I think about the business we built, you spoke about my partner, Jim, and I have another partner, Franco. We've all been working together for almost 20 years. We're all very sort of process oriented and disciplined and have been that way since day one. And as the business continues to build, there need to be, forms of checks and balances. You need to have ways to streamline all of these different processes. And without technology, that would be impossible. And the consequences are too significant. You can't make a mistake in this business, right? In many cases, there aren't any do-overs if you make a mistake. We take that very seriously, and we lean on and leverage technology to help us in that capacity, in all aspects of the business.
It's awesome. So from a mindset perspective, right? You're 23, it's like, oh my God, I just got to survive. I got to get to year 1, year 2, year 3. But, today you guys probably have a couple of thousand clients plus as a team, and you have 12 people.
Mm-hmm.
How has your mindset shifted when you come in each day to what you're trying to accomplish from when you were to where you are?
Yeah. I remember you speaking to us early on and talking about the importance of surrounding yourself with great talent. The members of our team, each in their own unique way, are so incredibly talented and have unique skill sets. And that's everything, right, to us and to growing this business. It's a great source of pride when clients tell me when we're speaking sort of personally and individually, just how much they appreciate, any member of the team that they had interacted with. And they tell me what a great experience they've had. And I think that's what's helped us to grow. So when I think about the future, it's continuing to mentor and help out the other members of my team grow professionally. I think that's what's going to help sort of take us to the next level.
Yeah, it's interesting. My dad taught me that all those isms are around because they stood the test of time. So The more you give, the more you get.
Right.
It's real. And this is an industry sometimes that people feel like they're competing with each other. But here at Barnum, we have a culture that says, if you help us grow,
right,
then we have more resources and we all grow together. And you're living that each day. And I love hearing that, Matt. Thank you for what you're doing. So now, fast forward, a lot has changed for you. You start out as a single guy. Now you're married. You have 3 beautiful children, an amazing wife. And how do you juggle the mental aspect of being this, great husband and great dad, but running this huge business? You didn't have that challenge when you were 25.
Right.
You fast forward today and, it's great to talk about business all the time and all the tactics and strategies you're doing, but life is life. And you do this so you could ultimately enjoy your life too. So how are you handling that?
Yeah, it takes a lot of work. I personally have to be very sort of thoughtful about that. And I have to mention just how important a role my wife, Teri, has played in sort of,
All right,
tough.
That's okay. Yeah.
In my success, right? And in our success. Because when I started at 23 years old, it was a lot of work, right? Long days. And she was behind me 100%.
Yeah. And you need that, Matt, if you don't have that, it's very hard to grow.
Right. No doubt. And so for well over a decade, it was just just this massive commitment of time to the business, right? Coming home at night and just studying for different designations, continue to learn about all aspects of the business and the industry. We're fortunate and very blessed to have 3 amazing children. And so now, I want to be really thoughtful about being present with them, giving back to my family, giving back to my team, and obviously continuing to serve as best as I possibly can my clients. Yep. And, that takes work.
Yeah, it does. And you have to be very intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you're doing a great job at it.
Yeah,
so the reason I bring it up is when you think of a role model for the future generation, that's what they have to see. There's a great Vince Lombardi saying that they asked him, hey, how are you winning all these championships? And he said, you create these great football players. And he said, no, I create these great men.
Right.
And when I look at, our business and my role as a CEO is to help with that. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have that, that business usually doesn't work.
Right.
And if you don't have that support, it's very hard.
100%.
It happens sometimes.
Right.
But it's not the norm. So really good stuff. So you gave a great word earlier and you said, me and my team are extremely disciplined. Mm-hmm. And, you talked about being a lifelong learner. You have a couple of designations. You got your CFP at a very young age, and what does that mean to you about you? How do you do that? Like, what does the discipline mean? It's interesting. We had Justin Forsett, he spoke at our kickoff meeting, and he said, greatness is made in the darkness.
Right.
And it stuck in my head. And that's just about being disciplined and, you being by yourself and grinding through whatever you're trying to do. But how do you do that?
I think when I started in the business, that head trash, right? That challenge of just being so young. For me, the easiest way to overcome that, really two ways. Number one, work ethic, right? I figured if I could outwork, most of those folks around me, if not all, that was going to improve my chances for success.
Yep.
But then secondly, right, investing in myself and through education. And when I was able to get my CFP and, some of those other designations, just this tremendous level of confidence came from that because I could have an intelligent conversation about planning with anybody. I'll never forget, it was a Saturday morning. I went out to, visit a family and discuss their planning. And early on in the conversation, I found out the gentleman that I was running the meeting with, the prospective client, he was like the VP or the president of, like global trading for a really, really big, well-known firm. I was like, oh my goodness, right? Maybe I'm a little in over my head here, but we had a great conversation. And he walked me out to my car at the end. He's like, Matt, he's like, I want to share something with you. He's like, I'm effectively at the top of my game, but that's corporate finance. He's like, you're in individual finance. They're two bit different businesses. What you helped me with today, I don't know much about that at all. So thank you. And I look forward to, continuing a good long relationship with you. And I still reflect on that to this day. I'm like, oh my goodness. Yep. Right. He just, and I've met with CFOs who sort of confide in me and say, Matt, I lead these huge teams and when it comes to personal finance, it's just not my thing. So that education helped propel me, no doubt about it. And from there, just staying disciplined, as you said, with the team, following these processes. We have a saying on our team, lead up. Everybody sort of has their own respective role in the team and their voice is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, it's amazing. And guys, if you missed it earlier on in the show, when Matt talked about being a lifelong learner, he talked about discipline, he talked about using technology, he's creating this culture. All of that piece together is giving you that confidence when you get in front of those clients. And that's a testament to you and your strong mentality to drive that and to keep doing that.
Sure.
So let's talk about the future here. Yeah. So what's next?
Future's bright, Paul.
Yes, very bright.
We're going to continue to grow this business. We've seen incredible growth over the last 5 years, 10, 15, 20 years. That's going to continue. I think we try really hard with our team to make sure that everybody is in the role that they want, right? And to understand what's important to each of our team members as individuals, regardless of the role that they're in. And we're thoughtful in our conversations quarter over quarter about what they like or potentially what they don't like, stressors in the job. And we try to, move different duties around, right? To make sure that everybody is doing what they enjoy and feels as though they have an impact on the team.
Well, that's stimulating, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome. And it's interesting. One of my favorite business books is Good to Great. Mm-hmm. And they talk about getting the right people on the bus,
right,
which you already have, and then getting them in the right seats. And those seats evolve. And it takes great time and intentionality with those people to just not check the box and say we met every quarter, but to listen and to do some of that stuff.
Right. So when we think about the future, being very, very intentional about who we sort of bring onto the team, the clients that we onboard, we're always trying to find ways to deliver to our clients. It sort of more and more and more at a higher level. So growing in all ways, both personally and professionally. Yeah.
Love it. So one last one for you, so we talked about COVID and Zoom and, some of the things, some of the benefits. There were so many bad things, but so many good things.
Sure.
So one of the things that's happened is your clients, for the most part, 95% of them were in the Northeast.
Right.
And, in driving distance for the most part. Maybe once in a while you flew somewhere, but today you've created this national footprint. And how has that changed the day-to-day for you?
It's incredible. If you had asked me 10 or 15 years ago if I thought I was going to be running a business that's truly sort of national in terms of scale and onboarding clients and them entrusting us with their life savings and the planning for their family, having never met them and shaken hands with them, I don't know that I would have believed that. But that's the business today.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting because we can impact that many more people. The classes that we teach now are virtual and they're rolled out across the country in most cases. And so we have people, from, Hawaii to California to Idaho and Indiana and right on through, Maine and Connecticut, right on through. So it's incredible.
Yeah. And for me, I'm chuckling to myself because I truly believe that. Yeah. And, seeing your expression now when you're talking about this and, he's a little giddy over here, guys. And, I think that's important as a leader, as Matt's doing for his team. And my responsibility is to continue to push your people to see things that they don't see and do that. So Matt, this has been just amazing. I can't wait to get this out and let everybody listen to it. But when you think of the name of this show, and I really put a lot of thought into it, small steps, big wins. Mm-hmm. By the way, guys, it's on Apple, it's on Spotify, all the places you listen to. So go on and share it with your friends. But you're an example of, having faith and doing your due diligence, because you never do anything without that, but having faith in your decision. And then, when you talked about your dad, you said there was no possible way I was going to fail. Having that attitude. And I'm sure there was many times where you questioned that, but you're a living example of what's possible for an entrepreneur. You just happened to pick financial services, and thank God, because of all the clients you're impacting. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you've done and what you'll continue to do to impact so many lives. So just keep taking small steps and big wins. And thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. And for your friendship, your guidance, and all the mentoring along the way. I'm eternally grateful.
Oh, you got it. Thank you again. And everybody enjoy the show. Everybody have a great day. Thank you for listening to Small Steps, Big Wins. Please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
All opinions expressed by the program participants are solely their current opinions and do not reflect the opinions their respective parent companies or affiliates or the companies with which the program participants are affiliated. Investments or strategies mentioned in this program may not be suitable for you, and you should make your own independent decision regarding them. This material does not take into account your particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs, and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for you. You should strongly consider seeking advice from your own investment advisor. Securities and investment advisory services offered through qualified registered representatives of MML Investor Services, LLC. Member SIPC, 6 Corporate Drive, Shelton, Connecticut, 06484, telephone number 203-513-6000.